Goblin launch detected.
This video is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc. with free weekly content and free shipping on orders over $150. You can save 5% site-wide by using the promo code MTGMudsta. I'm also sponsored by Face to Face Games, Canada's premier Magic the Gathering store. Using the promo code MTGMudsta will get you 5% off site-wide, with eligible orders getting free shipping Canada-wide. If you're looking for a direct way to help the channel, please consider joining my Patreon and becoming a member of the generic Goblin Gang. And before we get into today's game, I just wanted to bring your attention to the Nils Ham Kickstarter campaign going on right now. He's teamed up with one of my longtime sponsors, Original Magic Art, to bring you some incredible playmats and tokens, with choices like March the Otherworldly Light, Baleful Strix, and my personal favorite, Gilderbairn. There's sure to be something for everyone. Not to mention some beautiful tokens that'll be the highlight of any game you play at. And if you're looking to get into one of these, be sure to use my affiliate link below. But act soon, because this campaign ends on March 10th, 2023. Hey gang, and welcome back. Today's game is very exciting since we have another precon matchup. Eric has nicely bought the 2 new precons from Phyrexia All Will Be One, and he's playing his Otharri Sun's Glory deck, keeping a Plains, Exotic Orchard, Slayer's Stronghold, Mind Stone, Commander's Sphere, Mentor of the Meek, and a Legion Warboss. Eric has lent Dom Ixhel Sign of Atraxa, and his opener is an Igerclaw Mirror, Arcane Signet, Felwar Stone, Command Tower, Swamp, Ghostly Prison, and Evolutionary Sage. Matt has decided to play the Baldur's Gate precon Firkraag, keeping Territorial Hellkite, Pursued Whale, Command Tower, Domineering Will, and 2 islands. I am rocking Faldorn, keeping Search for Tomorrow, Wild Magic Sorcerer, 2 forests, 2 mountains, and Layla. Eric wins the die roll and starts us off. He just plays a Plains and passes. I play a forest and suspend Search for Tomorrow. Matt has a Command Tower. Dom also has a Command Tower. Eric plays an Exotic Orchard and taps 2 for a Mind Stone. I play a Mountain and cast Soul Ring. I then use the Mountain and Soul Ring to cast Layla. Matt plays an Island and casts Clan Crafter. Dom just plays a Swamp and casts Arcane Signet. Eric plays another Plains and taps 3 for Commander's Sphere. I remove the final suspend counter on search and cast it, going to find a basic. I then draw for turn and play a mountain. I tap 4 mana to cast a Wild Magic Sorcerer, and then go at Dom with Layla. I exile Kadama's Reach and add counters to her, and Dom takes a 3. I then pass as I'm unable to cast the Reach. Matt plays an island and passes. Dom plays a Plains and taps 2 for Felwar Stone. He taps another 2 for a Plague Stinger, passing to Eric. Eric plays a Mountain in his main phase and casts Cut a Deal, which has his opponents each drawing 1 while he draws 3. He then casts a Legion Warboss and goes to combat. He makes a Goblin token that has to attack and swings it at Matt for 1. I play a forest and swing Layla at Matt. I exile Lovestruck Beast, and then once in my second main phase, cast the Adventure side, Heart's Desire, making a 1/1 human token. I then get to Cascade from the Wild Magic Sorcerer, but we're pretty sure there isn't a 0 cost. I still have to reveal though, until I confirm this to be true. Once that's done, I cast the Lovestruck Beast itself. I then cast the Adventure side, Fertile Footsteps of a Beanstalk Giant, and go to find a land. Matt plays an island and casts Curse of Verbosity onto Eric, passing after that. Dom draws and goes to combat, and infects Eric for 1 poison counter. This lets him and Matt draw a card, and then Dom in his second main phase draws some more with the Painful Truths, drawing 3 and losing 3. He then plays out a Karn's Bastion, and pays 3 mana for a ghostly prison, and passes. Eric has a mountain for turn, and taps the 5 needed to cast Otharri, Sun's Glory. He then moves to combat and makes a goblin token with a war boss that has to attack. He swings Otharri at me, and gets an experience counter, which has him making a 2/2 rebel token that is also swinging. The goblin token goes at Matt, while the rebel token is able to cheat around ghostly prison and goes at Dom. Once combat's done, he passes after that. I draw and cast my exiled Beanstalk Giant, getting to Cascade. I hit the top card, which is Explore, drawing me a card. I sadly don't have a land for turn, let alone an extra one, and I move to combat. The Beast token goes at Eric, while Layla goes at Matt. Layla exiles a mountain and adds a counter to herself, and then deals 6 to Matt, while Eric decides to jump with his earlier made goblin token. I then play a mountain from exile and pass to Matt. Matt and I realize we should have drawn as he draws for turn, and we fix that. He then casts a Psychic Impetus and puts it onto Layla, passing once that's done. Dom plays a Forest for turn and goes to combat. He infects Eric with another poison counter, and he and Matt get to draw a card from the curse. Dom then drops Norn's Annex, losing life instead of paying for the Phyrexian mana cost in his cost. He then plays out a Cankerbloom and passes to Eric. Eric's got a Slayer Stronghold as his land drop, and pays 5 mana for an Elspeth Tyrael. He makes a goblin token as he moves to combat, and swings his commander at me, the newly made goblin at Matt, and adds his second experience counter, making 2 rebel tokens who are heading at Dom. We all then take the hits, with Eric gaining 3 life from Otharri's lifelink again. Eric then upticks Elspeth, gaining a chunk of life, and passing. I draw and play Kessig Wolfrun for turn. I move to combat, swinging Layla at Dom, and paying the 2 and 2 life to attack him, and the Beanstalk Giant at Eric. I exile a Castle Embrith, and add a counter to Layla, while Matt gets to scry 2 from the Impetus, and then he and I both draw a card from Eric's curse. Eric jumps, and Dom does as well, but sacrifices the Cankerbloom to proliferate the poison counter onto Eric before the damage is dealt. In my second main phase, I then play out Durnan, and the castle sadly stays in exile forever, and I pass. Matt draws, and plays a Reliquary Tower. He taps out for his commander, Firkraag, and then goes to combat. He swings the Hasty Dragon at Eric, dealing 3 commander damage, and goads Otharri. He passes after that. Dom plays a Krosan Verge as his land drop for turn, and then goes at me in combat with the Plague Stinger. This deals 1 infect damage to me, and in his second main phase, Dom then plays out Ixhel. He then casts a Plague Mirror, and moving to his end step, I respond to the Ixhel trigger by casting Beast Within and targeting Elspeth. Sadly, Eric is able to save her by tapping some creatures to help phase her out with a clever concealment. Ixhel's trigger then resolves, and Eric's top card gets exiled. Eric draws and plays a Buried Ruins as his land for turn. He moves to combat, making a goblin token from the war boss, and actually swings it and the war boss at Matt. This has the Mentor trigger going off, and gives the token a +1/+1 counter. He also swings Otharri at me, giving Eric his 3rd experience counter, and making him 3 more rebels, who he's able to cheat around Dom's protection, and go at Dom. Dom blocks one of them with the Plague Mirror, and we all then take the rest. In his second main phase, Eric then floats mana with the Sphere, and then sacrifices it to draw a card. And then uses the floating mana to sacrifice the Mind Stone to draw again. He then downticks Elspeth to wipe most of the board except for her, lands, and tokens. Once that's done, Eric then casts Prava and passes to me. I pay 5 mana in my main phase for Escape to the Wilds, exiling my top 5. I play a Mountain from Exile, and then a Gruul Turf since I can play an extra land drop, and bounce a tap land back to hand. I then cast Faldorn and pass to Matt. Matt's got a terrain generator, and he then casts a Solemn Simulacrum. It enters and goes to find him a basic, and with nothing else, he passes. Dom plays a Forest for turn and taps 6 mana for a Wormquake. Having met the criteria for Corrupted, he ends up making 2 6/6 Trample Toxic 1 Worm tokens. He then passes after that. At his end step, Eric activates Otharri's ability from the graveyard, tapping mana and a Rebel in an attempt to bring it back. Dom responds with a trigger on the stack, casting Noxious Survival, and instead puts Eric's commander on top of his library. Eric untaps and draws his commander. He plays a tapped Windbrisk Heights, hiding away one of his top 4. He then taps enough for Otharri again, and goes to combat. He swings Otharri at Dom, and upticks his experience counters, making 4 Rebel tokens, and also have them going at Dom as well. Dom blocks 2 of them, but takes the rest. In Eric's second main phase, he uses Elspeth's Plus ability to gain even more life, and passes once he's done. I play a Forest for turn, and then cast Ignite the Future, exiling my top 3. I ask Matt to let him hit me with my human token, and swing the token at him for 1. He lets it go through, and in my second main phase, I cast Light Up the Stage for its spectacle cost, exiling 2 more. And this lets me make a wolf token with Faldorn. I then play out our Aurora Phoenix, making a wolf token, and cascade into Journey to the Lost City. I get a 3rd wolf token from casting that, and pass to Matt. Matt taps a lot of mana in his main phase, and is able to cast Baloth. This smells like a problem, which he confirms with an Agitator Ant afterwards. He moves to his end step, and the Ant triggers, with Matt putting 2 +1/+1 counters onto Baloth. This will have any creature that's 3 or smaller goaded permanently, and I decide to put my counters onto the Phoenix, while Eric puts his onto his commander. Dom draws and hopes for a wipe. He sadly doesn't get there, and instead casts a Norn's Choirmaster, which does seem spicy if you don't consider his board state, and passes after that. Eric plays a Mountain in his main phase, and 6 mana is then tapped for a Silverwing Squadron, making him 3 2/2 Night tokens as it enters. And before moving to combat, uptakes Elspeth to gain 13 life. He moves to declare attackers, and Dom responds to the phase change with a Swords to Plowshares, exiling Otharri, and gaining Eric some life. Eric then swings all the Rebels at Dom, and Prava, the smaller Rebel, and 2 Goblin tokens at me. I block Prava with the Phoenix, and stop some Goblins with Wolves, and Dom blocks 3 Rebels. Before damage, Eric is then able to use the ability of Windbrisk Heights, putting out a Phantom General, and this further pumps his token army. Prava and Dom die, and so do some tokens, which has Mathieu gaining some treasure tokens thanks to Baloth. I untap and exile my top 4 and then roll a d20, hitting 19. This makes me a 2/2 wolf token that gets a +1/+1 counter. I then play a Mountain in my main phase, and cast Demon Bolt from exile to take out the Phantom General, plus make a wolf token from Faldorn. I then cast an Outpost Siege from exile, picking dragons as it enters, and make another wolf token. I then resolve with 3 visits, going to find a land. I activate Faldorn rather than attack with her, discarding a card and exiling my top card. It's a Mountain, which sadly doesn't help me. Moving to combat, I swing most things because of Goaded at Eric. Eric blocks my Phoenix with his Squadron, which has them trading. At this point, I'm surprised that Matt has gained so many treasures, and I'm surprised that Baloth does this in addition to goading all those things. Reading the card explains the card, and I pass after that. Matt draws and casts Rowan Kenrith, which lets him go and find Will Kenrith as she resolves. He then downticks Rowan, dealing enough damage to wipe away the board of all of Eric's tokens. He follows that up with a Dissipation Field and goes to combat. the Ant and Solemn go at Eric, while Baloth goes at Elspeth to drop her to 1. He then moves to his end step, adding more counters to Baloth, and I put some on the Wolf token that already had some from the Journey to the Lost City. Eric draws and plays a Mountain. He casts Mentor of the Meek, and then pays 5 mana for increasing devotion. He pays for 2 of the Mentor triggers as the 1/1s come in, drawing 2 cards. He then upticks Elspeth by 2 and gains 6 life, and passes to me. I Ixhel my top 4, and then roll, hitting a 2, and get to play a land from Journey, making a Wolf token from Faldorn. I then draw for turn, and go to combat, swinging the team at Eric because they're all goated. He declares no blocks, and I dump all of my mana into Kessig Wolfrun to pump Faldorn. Eric takes 15 commander damage as a result, plus some damage from the wolves, and I pass to Matt after that. Matt draws and upticks Rowan, essentially goading me again. He then plays out a Territorial Hellkite, and then a Goblin Spymaster. Moving to combat, he has to roll for the Hellkite to see who it'll attack, and he swings Baloth and it at me. I block Baloth with my Wolf token, and take the hit from the Hellkite. We then move to the end step, and Matt adds counter to his Hellkite thanks to the Agitator Ant, while I add some to my human token. Eric plays a Plains and flashes back increasing devotion to make 10 soldiers. He then pays for 2 of the Mentor triggers, drawing 2, and once more upticks Elspeth, this time gaining 16 life. Going to combat, the Mentor and soldiers go at me, and I take the hit. At his end step, Eric makes a Goblin token that'll force him to attack. I Ixhel my top 4 once more, and this time roll a 4, playing a forest from it and getting a Wolf token from Faldorn. And this time, activate Kessig Wolfrun prior to combat to pump up Faldorn, which will allow me to attack Mathieu. Once it resolves, I declare I'll move to combat. Responding to this, Matt casts a Domineering Will, stealing my Faldorn and 2 Wolf tokens until end of turn. I then swing the 2 creatures that can attack at Eric, who takes the hit. I pass after that, and get my creatures back. Matt untaps and draws. He plays an Izzet Signet, and then downticks Rowan again, and takes out Eric's tapped tokens with 3 damage. Matt then swings the Hellkite at Eric, who takes the hit. Moving to his second main phase, he plays out a Brash Taunter. Matt then passes after that, and adds counter onto his Taunter, while I choose to add more to my Wolf token, and Eric avoids them. Eric untaps and downticks Elspeth, wiping away the board of everything but tokens and lands. With Faldorn dying, and Eric asks for me to ping his token, which I agree to. He then brings out Otharri, and uses the Slayer's Stronghold to pump his commander and give it Vigilance. He swings Otharri at Matt, and gains his 5th experience counter. He then makes 5 2/2 Rebel tokens, and has them coming at me, and I block 4 of them. Matt then takes 5 commander damage, and Eric gains 5, while I take 2 from the unblocked creature. My turn has me drawing and recasting Faldorn. I swing my Big Wolf at Eric, who easily chumps up the soldier token. In my second main phase, I then played a Tali and pass. Matt draws and taps out to overload a spectacular showdown, goading the board until his next turn and giving all creatures a double strike counter. He swings the Brash Taunter at me, which has me blocking with my human token. With the human token dealing damage to the Taunter, Matt has the ability to redirect the damage to Eric's face, and he passes after that. Eric draws and casts a Mere Battlesphere. He uses the Slayer's Stronghold to give it haste, vigilance, and +2/+0. Moving to combat, he swings everything at me minus the Battlesphere, which he has go at Matt. This has Eric going to his 6th experience counter and making 6 2/2 Rebel tokens, having those go at Matt. He also resolves the Battlesphere on attack trigger, tapping 4 Mere tokens to deal 4 to Matt and pump it by +4/+0. At this point, even with blocks, it's enough to take me out, and Matt is also most certainly dead, winning Eric the game through combat. Game review time. Oof, I kind of understand why Eric wanted to switch his commanders to Otharri. Not being able to interact with experience counters is particularly rough, and it just meant that every time Eric was able to swing with his commander, things were going to get further and further out of hand. I talked about this briefly when I revealed the deck, but Otharri definitely feels like the stronger of the two commanders straight out of the box without any kind of changes. It just does so much by itself. Ixhel on the other hand seemed to be struggling a little bit. Dom was really far behind, and really Ixhel needs all of his opponents to have at least 3 poison counters, which, with only 1 infect creature out, just wasn't going to happen very quickly. I did not expect Matt to pull himself back into the game that fast with Firkraag, although I think Baloth did a lot more than Firkraag did this game. Getting all those treasures from creatures that were attacking or blocking that were goaded really propelled him into the late game. And I'm a little bit surprised that he used the Domineering Will on my Faldorn, because even though I could pump to get around the goading, I still didn't have enough to kill him. Faldor was and continues to be my favorite of the Baldur's Gate precon decks, although I'm not too into Journey to the Lost City. I know a lot of people seem to think it's great, but I lost so many spells to it that I just never got back. But 1 card out of 99 is not enough to put me off the deck, and the rest of it works so well together, with the adventure, cascading, and exo mechanics all feeding beautifully into Faldorn. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, Cool Stuff Inc., Multizone, Original Magic Art, and Alter Sleeves. But it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.